Welcome to Engagement Fundraising, where you'll learn how busy fundraisers like you are generating more major and planned gifts at lower costs. Brought to you by MarketSmart.com, the software and services company that helps nonprofits raise more money more efficiently.
You mention Facebook, people automatically think social. They think social media management or engagement. And engagement is a piece of it, but it's not the end all. And even getting the donor isn't the end all. That's really the beginning of the relationship. An email address is great, but getting them to take out their credit card for the first time, they're saying, I trust you. I trust you. You built trust. More so than an email address, more so than an address. You built trust. So we're really in the trust business, and that's what we do.
Joining us today on Engagement Fundraising is Mark Santiago, CEO and founder of Converge.digital. He shares with us how to use Facebook strategically to build trust, acquire new donors, and much more. Learn more about his company at www.converge.digital. Without further ado, here's our discussion with Mark.
Mark Santiago. Sounds like a movie star, doesn't he?
I'll take it.
Yeah, and on his website, Converge.digital, there's a beautiful picture of Mark with his sunglasses. He looks like a movie star. Good for you, Mark. You are cool, man. You're a cool Facebook dude. Yeah, we're going to talk about Facebook, right, Tim?
We are. That's the focus of what you do, Mark, right?
That's exactly what we do.
It's awesome.
It's what, 2 billion people there?
Only 2 billion?
Only 2 billion, I think.
That's a lot.
Yeah, 2 out of 7. They're falling behind a little bit. 2 out of 7 billion in the world.
But you know what's awesome is the person who's on Facebook more than anybody in my family is my mother-in-law. I mean, she loves Facebook too much, actually. She's got too much time on her hands. She's got a lot of free time. She's got money, and she's on Facebook talking and sharing. Talking and sharing.
Yeah.
That's your perfect donor market. Let's jump right in. Mark, hold on. Mark, who are you?
Oh, man. That's deep.
He's still trying to figure that out.
I'm still trying to figure that out, yeah.
Who are you and what's Converge Digital?
Yeah, so I'm a guy that spent many years in the internet marketing world, kind of dabbling and learning different tricks of the trade, if you will, and went to work for a nonprofit and just was blown away by really the lack of efficiencies in the market, the lack of really excellence when it comes to donor acquisition. And nonprofits were just blowing money on media and publishing and just different places that they weren't really efficient with. And then they spend money on like a ton of money on likes campaigns and all this. And so I sort of developed a system to hone that in and say, how can we get donors for the cheapest cost possible and get the highest LTV or lifetime value out of those donors? And so when I worked at the nonprofit I was at, I sort of developed that system, honed that craft, and went on to found Converge Digital. And that nonprofit became one of my first clients. And now here we are rocking and helping other nonprofits in many different verticals find new donors using Facebook advertising combined with some email stuff.
Okay, so you are a Facebook donor acquisition and retention marketing expert, firm, person, guy, movie star.
Yeah, that sounds good.
That's awesome. You're on the other side of the funnel as us because we're the qualification, prioritization, lead generation, cultivation, discovery, donor, major gift plan gift thing is over here. You're at the top of the funnel. We're kind of at the bottom of the funnel, and we need you because if you're not filling the pipeline, we don't have that much to work with. And so thank you.
You're welcome.
And I know we share a customer here and there. We're very thankful because we get to see the end results of your work. We basically take what you're doing and then turn it into, $50 gajillion.
Yep.
That's cool. Okay, so everybody gets that. But then let's go back to when Facebook started really picking up steam and nonprofits are doing these like campaigns. And, let's get a whole bunch of likes because we just want to get engagement. We want to build our audience and everything. So what you're saying is, hold on, the rubber's got to meet the road here a little bit. We're not in this game just to generate likes. We're in it to generate money.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We're very passionate about the end result, which is if we're not getting donors, we're not happy. And if we're not getting them to you at the cost you need them to be at, we're definitely not happy. So we're very driven on that data aspect of things. And not just finding cheap donors, but finding donors that ultimately are going to serve the greater purpose of lifelong partners with your organization. So really the word converge is about taking two things and merging them together, if you will. And so I liken it to our sort of why is we're really great at taking people and organizations and finding a way to bring them together. We use Facebook to make that happen.
Okay, so this is cool because this is where I get flack on LinkedIn. Just recently, I got flack because I'm talking about quality versus quantity.
The quotas, people giving crap
we were talking about the quotas, like, and you get all your donor visits, and you got to have 100,000 donor visits, and it's like, well, but why not have just like 10 really good ones? There was another time I talked about quality versus quantity, and we're talking about acquisition, and I'm like, why don't we just focus on like really good potential acquisition, acquiring less donors, but they're more likely to become major donors and legacy donors? Like that would save a lot of money and be more efficient if we looked at fundraising as a whole donor life cycle and tried to make it more efficient and optimize it. The reason I got flack is what I call populist fundraising. And that's where, hey, but that's not cool. We got to let everybody donate, man. And the organization needs all kinds of supporters. We need poor supporters and rich supporters. And we need all kinds, dude. That's not very cool. And I'm like, no, that's bull. You should not be using your donors' money to generate as much quantity as possible. Mm-hmm. So how does this stuff roll into your realm?
I love what you're saying, and I don't hear a lot of people talk like that because really that's the idea, right? Is that if you look at the history of fundraising, especially over the last 10 years, where digital started to pick up steam, it was just throw a bunch of money at it and see what happens. And let's just spend because we have a huge budget or we got some big thing and we don't know what else to do with it. And so we're just going to spend that money. And when you do that, you inefficiently go after the wrong people who aren't going to be the people that are going to be lifelong partners of your organization. I would much rather have 10 people on my, board or on my major gifts or even just mid-tier gifts that I know are going to consistently come back and say, we love what you're doing. We're going to write you a check every month or every quarter or every year. We want you to keep doing what you're good at, which is, transforming the world, changing the world. And if your organization is just burning through that money, eventually those donors come around and say, hey, look, we've been noticing, we look at your 990s, we look at the things that you're doing, and it feels like you're not giving us a return. And that's kind of the thing that we don't want to talk about, right? Is that do donors look at return on investment? They absolutely do, especially the higher up the funnel you go in terms of the size of gift. I know when I want to make a large contribution to an organization, I personally want to know that those dollars are going to bring maximum impact. So if you're just going after sort of the $20 giver, which is a lot of the front end gift, which is fine, then you kind of miss out on the larger play. And that is the bigger gift. That is the person who's going to continuously give to the organization to help you change the world.
Some acquisition firms that actually continuously tell their clients, the nonprofits, to lower the initial ask. Keep lowering it. They can get their vanity metrics.
Yep.
They want that high volume. It ultimately results in low retention.
Definitely. Yeah, we see a lot of that, especially with the sort of churn and burn method that is rampant out there, which who's to say who's at fault, whether it's media companies or agencies, we all probably share a blame in that because you can spend money and get a return. But if that return isn't long-term, then really you're just living on a fallacy. And then you find yourself 10 years later and your board's going, what happened? I thought we invested all this money in acquisition. Yeah, well, they didn't stick around because you burned through them and you treated them like garbage and you didn't learn how to develop them into the people that we want them to be.
I'm curious, Mark, with Facebook and your approach, how personalized are you able to create a message for the individuals you're looking for?
Yeah, it's really a mixture across the board. Really depends on the organization's goals. We can get hyper granular, and we do. The costs tend to rise, and if they're cost sensitive and they're not willing to spend some dollars on that, then it may not make sense for them. So a lot of times the organization does come with a mindset of spend as little as possible to get the biggest return. Well, in doing so, you're still sort of setting yourself up to fail. And so we try to mix it in, try to show them the value of targeting, like even just basic stuff on like donation forms, like making sure that just because somebody visited your donation form and they didn't give doesn't mean they won't give. And so we like to show them a series of ads to bring them back to that donation form with different value propositions, different copy messaging to say, hey, look, maybe you didn't think about this angle and come at it from this angle or come at it from that angle, because we already know they're really interested enough to visit your donation form and they spent X amount of time on that donation form. And so we try to take that holistic strategy into how we do it. We're not just trying to burn through a bunch of money and see what happens.
Okay, so let me hit the hard question then. What is the ROI? Like, what can you really get?
From an acquisition standpoint, you're looking at still that period of time. Like, no one's coming in with a 1-to-1 ROI in the first month.
Mm-hmm.
We've come close. The best we've done is a net $15 cost per acquisition on a few offers, and they're getting most of their money back in the first couple months. But generally speaking, you're looking at a period of time, and those are on new donors. The second part of that is sort of the retargeting, like Giving Tuesday or going after end of the year campaigns. We did one the end of, I think it was Giving Tuesday, where I can't say the organization, but they got at least a 10-to-1 return.
Wow.
On the return on ad spend. Where for every dollar we spent, we got back $10. But that really came back to, they had a holistic strategy. They had a solid brand in the marketplace. And so it was like shooting fish in a barrel. It was really easy to raise money through that. Not every organization has that. It's across the spectrum, really.
The retention, upgrading, if you will, major gift, moving or helping them move themselves to the mid-level, major donor, legacy giving. I mean, that's where you really make the money anyway. It's really hard to look at acquisition as a revenue generator. It's actually really to fill your pipeline so that you can mine it more later. Right?
It's the loss leader. It's the way to get them in to make some minor commitment to then, get a part of what you're doing and feel invested into what you're doing and then make those further asks. Unfortunately, most organizations kind of just leave them there. They don't really actually use the funnel like what you guys do, where you're focused on moving people up that ladder, if you will, and showing them the potential of giving greater gifts and becoming a legacy partner or becoming a major gift or becoming even just a recurring giver.
Well, thanks for that, Mark. You can be a guest again. In fact, you're the best guest we've ever had. Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, tell me about the process. Like, how hard is this, though? For the fundraiser, they got a million things. They got the event coming up. They got this. They got that. What does the process really look like?
Our process is very strategic. We try to create a roadmap for every client based upon what their needs are in the beginning. Sometimes that's just a matter of, they want 3 or 4 different acquisition campaigns. They want some retargeting campaigns and kind of go from there. We actually kind of handle the sort of whole funnel, if you will. And the funnel being, everything from the ads down to the landing pages, to the offer, to the donation form and the email sequence follow-up, just to really kind of put together like a nice product that we can take to the market and say, we want to get donors, and we sort of plug this in. And so our process has been streamlined pretty well in terms of how we create offers, how we create landing pages, donation forms, et cetera. And we use kind of the proven, I would say, methods, if you will, on the copywriting side and all of those pieces. So that's just on setup. And then when you actually get into the management of it, it becomes much more laborious because we're actually in there every single day, looking at campaigns, looking at different things we should test, looking at things we should be turning off, turning on, all of that. At the end of the month, we then get together with our clients and show them a learnings document where we say, here are all the images we tried for these campaigns, and here was the results of it. And then when we tried those, we did these breakdowns of the audiences, and we tried things like Wi-Fi only, or people that were only on mobile, or people that were only on desktop. And we show them all these pieces because they don't ever see that. And most agencies really aren't transparent to show them those things. We just really believe that you should know what's going on.
How come agencies aren't transparent? What do you think?
I don't want to burn any agencies. Unfortunately,
come on.
A lot of times, we partner with a lot of agencies. There's a lot of agencies where we work with on the back end where maybe clients don't even know that we're actually working on their campaigns.
Ah, right.
They've found that sometimes you need experts doing the work. Maybe you're good at strategy, or maybe you're good at email, but maybe you're not really good at this thing. What I've really just seen is that unfortunately there's a time aspect, a bandwidth, issue. They just may not have the bandwidth to do it, and they may not have the experience or the expertise to really understand it. Agencies have a churn rate of about 40%. So every year, if you've got 4 out of 10 people moving on, it's hard to train them and keep them knowledgeable about the thing that's building this pipeline.
So what about the potential customers who say, our donors are older, they're not on Facebook?
I love that, because that's the fastest growing segment on Facebook. It's 55 and up.
Yeah, but our donors are older. They're really old. They're like 200 years old.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Our donors are all dead. That's what they say. They say that sometimes.
They're so old, they're not on Facebook. They're on Snapchat.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to hear that all the time. And then we just show them like, no. They're here. They're clicking.
Yep.
In fact, the funny thing is that they're clicking on your competitor's website and they're donating because they're engaging. So
Totally.
like, what are you doing? Why don't you just sit there and keep saying that your donors don't use computers? Because that's lunacy. And by the way, how old are you? Well, I'm 72. What? So you're still working, you're 72, you've been running the department for 25 years and you believe that your donors are what? I don't get that.
Yep.
So give us
Exactly.
some stats. Old people on Facebook.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how many older people, but we get a lot of them.
The reason is cat videos. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Because you can share pictures of cats and stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, but I would think that this would also really work for advocacy, especially now, it's very heated time politically and people get triggered, with the
Very
Facebook
much
post.
So, yeah. We have a few political clients that we work with. We do a lot of advocacy stuff that just absolutely crushes it from a cost per lead or cost per donation perspective, more so than a lot. It's interruption marketing, but if you interrupt them with the right message that they're already fired up about, that they're already complaining about, they're already talking about on Facebook, and then you show them an ad about that, that's what Facebook's really good at doing. Because people are already commenting on that website or they're talking about that thing and Facebook knows it. So it's going to show them that ad and it's going to keep them going and it's going to keep them giving. It's going to keep them doing the thing that you want them to do.
So what do you say to the people who are really like married, and I'm not knocking it when I say married to direct mail, because direct mail, it works, right? And if you do it well, it works. We do it here. I love direct mail because if you do it right, it's fair, it works.
I'm actually good friends with direct mail. Me and direct mail, we go way back. Let me tell you the breakdown of it. Direct mail has its place, like you said, and direct mail still has its usage. We use it in a couple of different ways. What most of our clients are doing is they already have a direct mail program. It's robust. And then they say, hey, we want to do digital acquisition. And then what happens is they start comparing the lifetime value. They start comparing the cost per acquisition. And it's way cheaper on Facebook, generally speaking, than it is on direct mail. At the same time, what we'll do is we'll use it with appeals and such. We'll do sort of targeting campaigns where the same people will get an offline appeal, will get an email appeal, and they'll get a Facebook ad. So we kind of use it together. And then we have others that want us to drop it into their direct mail program. So instead of doing direct mail acquisition, we're doing digital acquisition for direct mail. And that's been very good for a lot of clients where they're seeing the value of an address. So instead of just getting a name and email address as the first part of that funnel, we're actually asking for a name, address, and everything else. Then it gets lower cost per donor, and then they're donating both online and offline. So when you have that multi-segment donor, we all know that becomes a much higher lifetime value, and they're better givers overall.
Well, we found that when you combine digital with direct mail, the results increase 700% on average. Yep. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It's phenomenal.
Talking about lifetime value and acquisition costs and all this kind of stuff, I'm going to give Tim a little quiz here since I'm not letting him talk. But so Tim, like what tool should everybody use to look at their acquisition cost and their lifetime value and all that kind of stuff?
Fundraising report card is a really good tool.
Why would I can't imagine why they would want to use that.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's a self-serving plug.
I know. It's some free thing we allow you to just generate these awesome reports that can get you this great data.
Wow, you're really excited about it, aren't you?
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Okay, great.
This episode is brought to you by us here at MarketSmart. Learn about Fundraising Report Card in this quick break. Here's some more info about the tool I just mentioned, fundraisingreportcard.com. So what is Fundraising Report Card? Well, it's a free service offered at fundraisingreportcard.com that enhances your fundraising efforts with easy-to-use analytics and charts. Get your proposal approved faster by using the beautiful and elegant charts created automatically with fundraisingreportcard.com. You'll also find a great blog there that dives deep into what data means for your organization and how you can use it effectively to make smart fundraising decisions. Start learning and start generating beautiful charts by going to fundraisingreportcard.com. Now, back to engagement fundraising.
What do they really need to understand about Facebook acquisition and retention advertising? They just don't get.
Number one, Facebook's not going to save you. If you're drowning, we can't just throw the Facebook ring out at you and you're going to be saved. The organization has to have certain things that they're doing well. And if they're not, then we try to introduce them to partners such as yourself or other people that maybe do some other work like AdWords and things like that. But for the most part, the organizations come to us with that. The second part is just really understanding donor psychology. Like if you don't understand your value proposition, you're going to fail. At the end of the day, I don't care if you sell clean water or if you sell child trafficking where you stop, child trafficking, or you deal in environmental. If you don't understand why people should give to you versus somebody else, then I can't go out there to the market and say, this is why you should click my ad and not their ad. Download this thing or get this free item or give to our organization versus others, because you don't know how to answer that question. So I would think it comes back to that. And then finally, the lifetime value. If you don't understand the lifetime value, how do you know what it costs you to acquire somebody? Let's say your lifetime value is $1,000. Technically, you could spend $900 and you'd be okay. And maybe you've been doing that because you thought your lifetime value was $1,000. We try to help them see those things from a holistic perspective, and then really see Facebook as part of an overall strategy, not just, hey, we're just doing this thing and throwing it out there and seeing what happens. But we need to involve email. We need to involve other tools to help them in the value chain.
That's well said. In the end, you're providing the donors with a convenience. They want to engage. If the mission is good, which you were just talking about, and at the core, the product, the mission has got to be good. If that's screwed up and leadership is screwed up and you're not delivering a return, you're not delivering value, then you're done anyway. You're cooked. They want to be involved. They want it in real time, so it's convenient. And they want you to treat them like an individual. So with Facebook, you can make it personalized. You can create multiple campaigns targeting different personas and so on. They don't want to be targets for spam. And yes, I understand that Facebook advertising is somewhat interruptive. It's not like you're going to pound them with a hammer to get money out of them and shake them upside down. It's not that. You're giving them an opportunity to self-navigate, immerse themselves in the mission, and an opportunity to give. I think I should sell Converge.digital.
I think so. Yeah.
That was a good advertisement for them, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd want us to cover?
There's a separator. And actually, I was just talking to another organization who is in the same space, and we were talking about a strategic relationship. And what I was saying to them was that a lot of times when you mention Facebook, people automatically think social. They think social media management or engagement. And engagement is a piece of it, but it's not the end all. And even getting the donor isn't the end all. That's really the beginning of the relationship. An email address is great, but getting them to take out their credit card for the first time, they're saying, I trust you. I trust you. You've built trust. More so than an email address, more so than an address. Built trust. So we're really in the trust business, and that's what we do. And then, partnering with a group like yourself, where you're taking that trust and you're amplifying it way bigger than what it could be from what a Facebook ad can do. And you're saying, let's build that relationship deeper. And how can we partner at a greater level? So it's really seeing Facebook for what it is, not the cure-all, be-all, even though that's what I'm, personally, as our company is invested all in that. But it's a channel that could go away at any moment for us. But we have a process that says, whether it's Facebook or it's Google or it's YouTube or it's somewhere else, you have to look at it as an overall relationship mechanism. It's a way for us to get in front of the right people at the right time with the right message so that we can build a relationship that turns into more world transformation. We've never seen this kind of social good come out of the world. And we have organizations popping up all the time that are ready to do those things. And so as organizations that are already here and that have been around for a long time, they have to be aware of that, and they have to be thinking outside of the box, because Charity Water wasn't around, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and they've blown up to this huge organization, or some of these other ones, because they took advantage of this idea of getting people into a relationship and building that relationship.
Yeah, I love that. Like, how does Charity Water, at such low cost and mostly really all digital marketing, grow to be, what are they, $80 million a year or something? I mean, it's crazy, right? Yet there's other organizations that are like, we can't grow 5%. Well, these guys came out of left field. They came out of nowhere, and they did it. Don't say it's impossible. But what I like about what you're saying is you're almost like pounding your fist on the table saying, hold on, this is not transactional. You got to remove the transactional component from your brain, because it's not fair to the donor to treat them like an ATM and you press a button and money comes out. That's not what we're here for. And I agree. I applaud you. You're my kind of guy, because I'm the donor who started this whole business because I'm pissed off. I don't like people treating us that way. And you can't put blinders on and just think, well, let's just hit the email button one more time and see if we can pound out another, some more blood and money out of these people, because we need it, because my boss needs me to hit the goal. Well, that's not nice. So you're talking about it from a holistic approach of like, okay, philosophically, we've got to look at this and say, let's be nice to the donor and figure out the way to do this so that it's a partnership. We're growing the mission, we're growing the funds, and we're making the donor happy all at the same time. Like that.
Totally. Yeah. And I would say sort of alluding to what you just said about the growth mindset. And that's a huge issue I notice. I go to conferences, I speak at different things, and I hang around with, nonprofit marketers. And a lot of times it's the mindset of the organization, the board and such, it's very small minded. It's very, what I would call poverty minded. And what I mean by that is we look at everything from if somebody has this part of the pie, then there's only so much of the pie left to go around. Whereas money is really infinite. And if you have that kind of mindset as an organization, you take that into your fundraising, you're going to be very close. You're not going to have a charitable attitude yourself. And I don't know if I'm getting like really weird or out there, but it's a mindset shift that has to happen for an organization to say, how do we go from $1 million to 10 million to 20 million to 50 million? It's a completely different way of looking at your donors, because you're not just treating them as an acquisition thing. You're looking at them as partners, and you cast a vision for them and say, we want you to be a part of this vision to change the world. What part do you want to play in that role? And looking at everybody like that.
Well, that comes down to leadership and board involvement with good quality board members. When you get a hole in the board, you don't just fill it with anybody. Hey, there's someone, they're breathing, put them in. That's not cool. You build with quality. You don't build a house with twigs. So leadership has to have that vision. They have to be an architect. They have to be a designer. Unfortunately, I think what you're talking about, though, and this is a whole other podcast, but I think there's a little bit of a leadership deficit in that regard. So, look, leaders are hard to come by. If we had a lot of leaders, more leaders, the world would be a better place. It's hard to be a leader. Look at me. Yeah. I'm leading. Hello. I'm a crazy leader is the thing. Yeah. Tim, anything else that you want to ask this movie star?
When you're searching out for new prospects, are you searching mainly on retargeting, or is it also mission-based based on their interests and what they're looking to support from that end of their profile?
So if you're talking about from a acquisition perspective, new donor acquisition, we have sort of a process we use internally that creates several different targeting audiences. Some of it's just a common, lookalike. Some of it's just interests. And there's different segments that we'll take and we'll utilize a little bit broader than most people do. So we kind of go broad with that. And we allow Facebook to optimize to do its thing and see if those audiences work. We're really looking at those audiences, images, and creative, and allowing the optimization to roll with that. And then we put in our software and things like that to make sure that we're not spending where we shouldn't be spending. But our process is to go out and find new people that have never heard of us, like us, or trust us yet. Sometimes that's just going with those cold audiences and seeing what happens. And other times it is going and using engagement things like video to build audiences from that and then retarget those people with acquisition asks.
How about targeting the people that already like the organization?
Typically, those have been, it depends on how they got their likes. If they're buying likes, those are not going to be very good. But what we really like is people who've engaged with the page. We'll create audiences based on people who've engaged with your page over periods of time, as well as maybe clicked on, an ad or a post or something like that, and create multiple audiences from that we'll target. And those usually do typically better than just page likers.
Sure.
And any preference to video or photos or just pure text? Is it just based on the goal of that individual campaign?
I mean, Facebook is selling video like it's nobody's business. And part of the reason is because they're trying to compete with YouTube. They're basically rewarding you with lower cost on video. And part of that is because people do engage typically longer with the videos. When you look at dollars being spent on Facebook, and this is getting technical here, you're playing to their rules and the way they want you to play the game. And the game is keep people on Facebook, don't take them off Facebook. So every time we send them off of Facebook, they're saying, that's a fee, that's a penalty, that's a fine. And they're charging you for that. Whereas when you're keeping them on Facebook, they're rewarding you by lower cost because they're saying, ding, 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 you kept them on for X seconds. And so therefore, we're going to reward you. So video works, and I love video, and it can work for different kinds of campaigns. But honestly, I've tested multiple video versus image on like new name acquisition campaigns or new donor campaigns, and we haven't found a winner between the two. It really comes back to how good the video is. It comes back to how good the image is and what you're actually asking them to do. Is this something that needs a lot of engagement? Like if you're selling an e-commerce product, you might need a video to explain what the thing does. But if you're just giving away an ebook, or if you're giving away some map or a guide or something like that, it may not need a video.
Got it. So, Mark, how do people get in touch with you? Like, where do you live? Is your couch comfortable?
I actually do have a kind of a couch in my office. But no,
I don't want your office. Where do you live, bro? No. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, my email is mark@convergeleads.com, but our website, converge.digital, has on there our Facebook fundraising blueprint. You can download that. That's a great way to sort of start the relationship, just to learn a little bit more about us. After that, we'd like to hop on a phone call and just talk to people. We're not really like pitching salespeople. We're very much relational. So it's the same kind of approach. I'm very much into the relational side of things, even in doing business with nonprofits, because I want to make sure that I can help you. And even if I can't, I'm going to point you in a direction to say, hey, you might want to talk to these people. Or, I'll refer out all the time to, different groups, or I'll say, you know what, you're just not ready. And these are the things you need to do to get ready. And I'll even hop on a phone call, even if I know the organization is not ready, just for the sake of being able to continue to kind of sew back in, if you will, to sort of give goodwill back into the market to help out people.
Cool. So I'll be over tonight. And no, this is good. We appreciate you taking the time out to talk to all of us. Me, you, Tim, the microphones. It's been a pleasure. Hope you had fun.
I did.
Thanks again to Mark for his time. Once again, you can find his company at www.converge.digital. Thank you for listening to this episode of Engagement Fundraising. If you like the show, make sure to review it on iTunes and pass along to a colleague. If you're curious about what we do, check out iMarketSmart.com, and don't forget to try out Fundraising Report Card at www.fundraisingreportcard.com. Thanks again for listening to Engage in Fundraising.